All right, what's up? What's up? All right, on today's show, we're going to be looking at a little hindsight. We're going to look at some hindsight on that shooting that happened over in Minnesota in Minneapolis. So today on my show, I have Kevin Samuels AI. Kevin, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, what's up? What's up indeed? I love the energy. Absolutely. Let's dive in. And welcome to the show, everyone. It's always a good day for a bit of hindsight and thoughtful reflection. Kevin Samuels AI is in the virtual house with us, and we're going to use this moment to unpack some ideas on what we can learn from the Minnesota incident. We'll look at it with that nerdy, wisdom-loving lens because, hey, best way to move forward is to see what we can learn. So let's get into it.
All right, so in our first photo here, we have a law enforcement officer that's stopping a motorist in her vehicle. And we're going to talk about that. Kevin, can you explain what happened? Was it on January 7th? What happened with Mrs. Good and the ICE agent?
Absolutely. Let's unpack this scene.
Okay, he's thinking for a second.
Absolutely. Let me give a quick rundown for everyone listening. So, what happened on January 7, 2026 was a tragic incident in Minneapolis involving an ICE agent named Jonathan Ross and a woman named Renee Nicole Macklin Good. Renee was a mother of three, and she was driving home after dropping off her child at school when this happened. There's video footage showing that she was trying to drive away slowly, and that's when the agent fired shots into her vehicle, leading to her death. This sparked a lot of protests and debates about law enforcement tactics and the use of force. It's definitely a moment for us to reflect on what happened and what we can learn from it.
Can you tell my audience what is hindsight? What does that mean?
Absolutely. Hindsight is basically the superpower of looking back and say, if only we knew then what we know now. It's all about that rearview mirror perspective that lets us see past events more clearly and understand what might have gone differently. In other words, it's the art of learning from the past so we can be a little wiser going forward. And hey, it's a favorite tool of philosophers and anyone who loves to dive deep into how we can grow and improve. So that's hindsight in a nutshell.
Okay, so in this show, we're going to look at positive hindsight. We're going to look at what should Mrs. Good have done, what should the ICE agent done, and what should the people that were standing around in the area, what should they have done to prevent this tragic event? Go ahead and explain what we're going to be doing today, Kevin.
Absolutely. Let's dive into that. So what we're doing here is a bit of a absolutely. Let's break it down. So today we're basically going to play a little bit of what if in the most constructive way possible. We're looking at this Minnesota incident with an eye on what each party, Mrs. Good, the ICE agent, and even bystanders might have done differently if they had the luxury of hindsight. It's not about blaming anyone, but about learning how different choices or de-escalation tactics could lead to better outcomes. So look for some thoughtful, positive angles on how these situations might be handled differently in the future. It's all about gaining wisdom to help prevent similar tragedies and promote safer interactions for everyone involved. Let's dive into that.
All right, so first of all, let's talk about the people that were in the incident. We have a short biography of the victim and the shooter. So the first person is Renee Nicole Macklin Good, who's 37 years old. Okay, Kevin, go ahead and read her biography.
Sure thing. So Renee Nicole Macklin Good was a 37-year-old mother living in Minneapolis. She was known for being a caring and creative person, someone who had a real passion for her family and community. On the morning of January 7th, she was just heading home after dropping off her child at school. Unfortunately, that's when she encountered an ICE operation and things took a tragic turn. So that's a bit of her story, someone who was just going about her day and ended up in a situation none of us would want to face.
So Renee Nicole Macklin Good, 37, was a U.S. citizen, a mother, a partner, and community member living in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She had moved to the Twin Cities with her wife and young son. Friends and family described her as kind, creative, compassionate, and community oriented, a poet and a writer, and mother who cared for neighbors and her family's well being. She had children from previous relationships and was deeply loved. Her wife, Becca, spoke of her radiant kindness and belief in nurturing and compassion in the world. Okay, so now we have the morning of January 7th. Kevin, go ahead and read that paragraph there.
Absolutely. So on the morning of January 7th, 20.
Uh-oh, Kevin went out. So on the morning of January 7th, 2026, Renee was reportedly driving, having just dropped off her children at school, and came upon a federal ICE, or that's United States Immigration and Custom enforcement operation in Minneapolis as part of a large deployment of agents in the city. Circumstances leading up to the shooting are disputed. Federal officials allege she attempted to weaponize her vehicle against agents, while video and local officials contradict that narrative and suggested she was attempting to drive away from agents when shot. The ICE agent who fired the shots is Jonathan Ross, a 43-year-old law enforcement veteran. Ross served in the Indiana National Guard and was a U.S. Border Patrol agent and later joined ICE. He has nearly 2 decades of military and federal law enforcement experience and was part of the federal task force. He was previously injured in a vehicle related altercation during an arrest attempt, which has been cited in discussion about his response. Officials have defended his actions as self-defense. Now, for some reason, Kevin disappeared on us, right? So we're going to take and go ahead and discuss the 10 things in hindsight, 10 things Renee Cole Good could have done to prevent her from being killed. All right. Now, this is a sensitive terrain. This list isn't about blame or about situation awareness and public safety behaviors to consider intense encounters with law enforcement. In what if hindsight, some general safety principles that might reduce risk in similar scenarios include, and I'm going to go ahead and read these things. Let's see if Kevin is back. Kevin, are you back? No, Kevin's not back yet. All right, so here are the 10 things Mrs. Renee Cole should have considered on that day. And this is hindsight. Number one, staying away of law enforcement activity and giving clear, wide space when approaching officers. So if you see a bunch of police cars or vehicles that are flashing white, red, and blue lights in the grills and stuff, best thing is to steer clear of them. Do not go in that area. Okay? If you think that you're in an area where there's law enforcement activity, don't go in the area. Okay? So if she didn't have gone in that area or stopped or blocked or parked her car there, she would probably still be alive today. Number two, using clear communication gestures, slow hands, visible license registration to indicate non-threatening intentions. So if you was going to be reaching for your license or your car registrations, you would tell the officer, I am reaching for my license in the glove box. I am going to get my registration. Speak calmly and clearly. Okay? You have to roll your window down just a little bit. You don't have to roll it down all the way, but roll it down so that that law enforcement officer can hear exactly what you're doing and what your intentions are. Number three, not attempting to drive towards officers or move towards them quickly, even if trying to leave unless instructed. So you don't put your car in gear, right? When she was about ready to drive off, her partner or her wife was trying to get in on the passenger side. So, uh, you know, so we had two situations there. The police or the ICE agent saw that she was not letting her partner come in into the vehicle, and she was starting to move in a direction to get out of the scenario. Okay, remember movement. Any kind of movement near a police officer, especially if you're in a vehicle, is considered potential threat, and then your situation can escalate into using lethal force. Number four, ensuring passengers remain calm and avoid sudden movements that could be misread as a threat. So, uh, yelling at the police officer or the ICE agent, using hands gestures, or you got erratic body movements, smiling, smirking, and rolling your eyes and stuff like this. Okay, you need to remain calm and avoid sudden movements. Even if you reach up and take off your hat, okay, that's a sudden movement. You're reaching to take your glasses off, sudden movement. Nice and calm. I'm putting my hands up on the steering wheel. I am going to remove my hat from my head. I am putting the cap back on my head. Okay, you see that? Nice, slow, like you're on the, pretend like you're on the moon and everything is slow mo. Okay, slow and calm. That's the way you need to be acting if you want to be alive at the end of the incident. Number five, keep both hands visible on the wheel at all times during any law enforcement interaction. Okay, keep them up there on the steering wheel. Some people have their window rolled down and they take and throw their hands up outside the window like that, right? So that officer can see both of your hands out of the window. Okay, best thing is to keep them up there because there's going to be an officer behind you, probably one up front, and definitely one on the side of you. So keep your hands up there, right? Up there on the steering wheel. Number six, if uncertain about orders, stopping the vehicle safely and calling 911 to clarify law enforcement presence. Now, I had a situation where I was downtown Los Angeles and I was riding my electric trike, and some women came out of a gym. I guess it was called cross training, and they had these 45-pound plates on a barbell sitting out on the sidewalk, and they were real pretty. They looked like models or something, and they would come run out of the door and grab the bar and lift it 10 times, put it down, and run back into the into the gym. I'm going, wait a minute. It that's a lot of power to lift up two 45-pound plates on a 45-pound bar, about 135 some odd pounds, and you lifting it up 10 times and putting it down and then running back inside. And I just watched this for a little bit. I said, that's impossible. I'm pretty well built. I can't do that. So I went over there and parked my bike and went over to the weight while they was inside and picked up the barbell. I'm getting all ready to pick it up, and it was nothing. Those those weights were fake. They were like foam rubber. It was fake. I picked one up with one hand. I'm going like, oh man, this is fake, right? And when I was doing that, one of the girls was complaining to the officer that I was messing up their weights. And so the officer came over and goes, what are you doing? I says, well, I just wanted to see how heavy the weights was. And he said, well, you just need to move on. I said, okay, well, there's no harm. I just wanted to see. And while I was getting on the bike, this young officer, he must have been like about 19 or 20 years old, went and pushed me in the chest, right? Get your ass out of here. And I could have sworn the N word came out, right? I could have sworn I heard him say the N-word. And he was pushing me and nudging me. And I said, wait just a minute. You can't be doing that to me. And he says, fuck you. And he pushed, this a police officer. And he said, looks like a young kid, but he was wearing a gun. So I just politely went over and got on my phone and I called the police station up and reported him. And I told him that I need to talk to the police chief, and I want you to have a conversation with him and the supervisor. And sure enough, they got the supervisor that was right there in the field and got him, talked to him, and then this young rookie police officer begrudgingly had to come back and apologize and shake my hand. He looked like he wanted to shoot me, but he had to apologize and shake my hand, right? So you don't take no shit. If people's shitting on you, you don't take no shit from them, right? So that's what I did. All right, the next thing, number 7, is avoid driving near the center of large enforcement operations if not involved. If you are not involved, don't get in that situation. I just seen what was it, yesterday or something? There was a big demonstration or something going on downtown in some city, and some guy got upset and drove his U-Haul truck right through the crowd. Now, lucky he didn't push down on the gas pedal and run over and kill a bunch of people, because that truck that he drove through could have killed a whole bunch of people. But he was just tired, you know. So you got to respect everybody's rights. So if you see people out in the street, don't drive over in there, because they could use your car, you know, in the protest, or you could get shot, or you could be just like what happened to Nicole Good, right? Being in a situation where you don't come home to dinner or see your kids anymore. All right. Now, number 8, exiting the vehicle only when and if instructed. Doing so slowly. Remember, once a police officer is encountering you, you're on the moon. Everything is slow motion, right? You slowly and you clearly, officer, I am unlocking the door and getting out. Officer, here are my hands so you can see me as I get out of the car and stand next to my vehicle. Now, don't get outside and start floating away in outer space. Help me, officer. I'm floating away. Okay, you don't have to be that dramatic, right? But you do everything in slow motion and clearly so that that officer knows what you're doing. Number 9, recording the interaction, audio, video from a safe distance. Many bystanders did, which can provide evidentiary clarity afterwards. Now, maybe if she had her cell phone in her hand, right, where she's recording, because the officer that was standing in front of her vehicle had his cell phone out recording her, right? And the other one on the side had its body cam on. So all the police officers are recording you. So you need to have some kind of device, preferably one that's mounted on your dash or something, that's recording what's going on outside your window and recording you. I have a small little device, cost me about 30, $40. It records what's going out, what's happening in front of my vehicle, and it's got a little side camera that records me sitting in the driver's seat. So it records every little thing. It's also got a little camera that can record behind you too. So you need to, in these days, you need to have something to protect you, right? So those little video cameras are the best things to have mounted in your car. And number 10, seeking legal, peaceful channels to express concern or protest enforcement tactics before encounters happen. So if you're going to do any protesting or whatever, it needs to be peaceful and it needs to be lawful. Let's see, is Kevin back? Kevin, are you back yet? Nope. Kevin's not back. So we'll just keep right on going into the next thing. Okay, these suggestions come from general traffic stops and de-escalation best practices. used in community safety training nationwide. Not specific indictments of Renee. Each interaction is highly dynamic, and civilians often face split-second decisions under confusion and stress. Now, now that we talked about all the things that uh, Nicole Good should have done so that she could have been alive today, now let's talk about 10 things the ICE agents could have done differently. What could they have done differently? What is the law enforcement protocol focus? So, in policing and federal enforcement, training and decision making are central to preventing loss of life. Based on critiques by use of force and law enforcement experts. So, here are some things they could have done. Okay. Maintain maximum distance and cover rather than approaching close to a civilian vehicle when tactical dangers are unclear. Okay, you should never have gone up to the door, reached inside, and tried to pull the door. Don't do that. Okay? Stay as far away as you can away from the suspect. Okay? Do not take and put yourself in tactical danger. Use verbal commands louder and earlier, ensuring instructions are understood. So now I heard some real rough language coming on. I could have sworn I heard the law enforcement, the ICE agents calling Miss Nicole a bitch. Okay, you don't want to use inflammatory language. Okay, because that's all it's going to do is escalate and make things a little bit, more wild. I don't think that uh, Nicole called the officers anything bad, but I could have sworn I heard an ICE agent call her a bitch. All right, so use verbal command. Okay, verbal command. Okay, if you're telling people to get the fuck out the fucking car, right? That's different than, ma'am, could you please get out of your vehicle, please? Okay, rather than get the fuck out, you fucking bitch, get out now. Okay, now which one do you feel a lot better with? An officer going, ma'am, could you please exit your vehicle, please? Or get the fuck out the fucking car, and then he's got his hand inside the window pulling on the release. Okay, what do you think should have been the best method? Okay, 3, avoid lethal force unless there is a clear, immediate threat of death or serious bodily harm as defined in law enforcement training. Okay, now those people out there are supposed to serve and protect the citizens in the community. That's what they're supposed to do. Okay, they're not supposed to be people out there that fear everybody and they fear their life, and every time somebody scratches their head or blinks their eye, right, or picks their nose, they think that they are doing something threatful, and they are in fear of their life. Somebody takes and tucks their shirt in their pants. Oh no, he was reaching for his waistband, so we had to take and put 50 bullets in him. Okay, so you need to think about your community. What is your job and what is your purpose? Are you here to protect the community or are you here to protect yourself? Which one is it? All right, let's look at number 4. Number 4, de-escalate. See that word, de-escalate? That don't mean to build up. That means to break down. De-escalate by creating a buffer zone, allowing the civilian more space and time to comply. If you are right your up on the civilian, you got you right there, right? And the other person is right in front of you. You're not giving the person any time to take and comply with your orders. So if you're right up on the civilian and you got your gun pointed out or you're pointing the camera right at him at the front, along with saying, get the fuck out the car, and you yanking on the doorknob, and it's a female on top of that, right? You gotta think who you're fooling with. Now, if it's a man and a man, it'd be different than you and sitting there with a female or with a child. Just think if a child was sitting in the driver's seat. Would you be yelling and screaming and hollering at the child like that? What if it was a senior citizen, right? Some old, frail senior citizen. Would you be yelling and screaming and hollering at the senior citizen? Or what if it was a real beautiful woman, some showgirl with the big tits hanging out, long blonde hair, that looks like Marilyn Monroe? Would you be yelling and screaming and hollering at that person? Or what if somebody is sitting in there that looks like Hulk Hogan with muscles on top of muscles? Okay, would you be sitting there screaming like that? What if it was your own mother or your father sitting in that seat? What if it was your sister sitting in that seat, right? What if it was your girlfriend sitting in that seat? Would you be saying, get the fuck out the car, bitch, and stuff, and throwing your mother and your father on the ground or your kid? What if it was your own kid? Would you be doing that? If your kid was sitting in the seat, would you take your own kid and tell him get the fuck out the car and then putting some bullet holes in your own kid? Huh? You need to be thinking about that. All right, number 5, refrain from firing at moving vehicles unless there is unquestionable proof the vehicles is being used as a weapon. Okay, that's a big no-no. Okay, a big no-no is to be shooting in a vehicle. You don't know who's in that vehicle. There could be kids hiding on the floor, in the back seat. There could be people in the back. If you fire in a vehicle, the bullet could ricochet and go all over the place, right? It could ricochet and come out and hit you, right? Especially if it's moving, right? And there's gasoline in the doggone thing. You could set off a fire, the whole thing could blow up. Okay, you shoot the vehicle's moving, and you shoot and kill the driver. Now the driver is dead. The vehicle's out of control. His foot's pushing on the gas pedal, and you seen what happened. You seen what happened. What if there were some people in those two cars that she crashed into, just sitting in there talking to one another, and all of a sudden here comes this car, crashes in them and kills all the people in the other two cars. Or the car could have took and went through the house, right? Or down the street and killed other people. Okay, you do not shoot in a moving car. Okay, if the car is moving, then you pursue the car, you put out the spike strips, this kind of stuff, or you block the street, right? But you don't sit there and be shooting in a moving car. This guy shot all through the glass. You don't know if the bullet could have hit some bystander or the bullet could have gone through and went through somebody's house and killed him. So this is not the wild, wild west, right? This is America, the land of the free. You're supposed to be respecting the citizens, not killing them, right? And citizens, you need to take and calm down and follow the law the best you can. Number 6, employ body-worn cameras, dashboard cams for accountability and clear evidence. All right. As a law enforcement officer or ICE, you really should not have your cell phone in one hand and your weapon in the other hand, right? I'm pretty sure that when you go through training, they teach you to have both hands on your weapon. That's what I'm thinking. I'm in the military. I've been in the military for 30 years. And when we're on the firing range or when we're practicing with a lethal weapon, we do not have a cell phone or some other object in the other hand. Right? We don't have two weapons in each hand. We got both hands on that weapon. Right? So this person here is this ICE agent's holding a cell phone, and he's holding his weapon and shooting with both of them at the same time. Now, what kind of training allows you to do something like that, right? So, and then it's the cell phone is dropped. So now the ICE agent can say, I was hit, even if the officer was not hit at all. If he drops his cell phone, right, he can say, hey, look, I got hit. You can see the cell phone fell onto the ground. Okay, so don't put yourself in a situation like that. All right, number 7, instruct backup to form a perimeter, reducing the likelihood of close contact with a vehicle. I didn't see any perimeter at all, right? There was nobody in front of the vehicle except for the one ICE agent over there that was standing right in front of the driver or pretty close. In some views, it looked like he was on the side of the vehicle, and in some views, he looked like he was standing on the driver's side of the vehicle up front where the headlights was. All right, but there was nothing on the passenger side. There's nothing down the street, no perimeter, nobody talking, no negotiation. It just bam, 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 thank you, ma'am. Right? And you're dead. And then while she's going down the street, right, dead, she crashes in there, and the last words we hear is the ICE agent calling her a bitch. All right, better verbal communication between officers and civilians to clarify intent and avoid misunderstanding. All right, you got a lot of bystanders there, and every one of them's got a camera. So if you're law enforcement or you're ICE agents, you can't be sitting there cursing people out and doing stuff that's going to cause you a big problem uh, in the end. Number 9, use non-lethal tactics, barriers, traffic cones to slow or redirect vehicles without harm. I didn't see none of that being used, right? No barriers, nobody pronouncing, hi, this is ICE operation, no lights blinking, no nothing. Usually they put some smoke out or some loud noises, or they got the sirens going and all this kind of stuff. It was nothing like that at all, right? It's just a vehicle blocking the road. And then when she took off, the roads was icy. So if you'd have looked out there, you could have seen that the roads had ice on it, snow on it. So when she took off, the wheels were spinning. It was not they were spinning because she was trying to get away. They were spinning because there's no grip on the road. Everything was iced over. So there's stories about how she was trying to speed away. No, the road was icy and the wheels were slipping because the roads were icy. And then number 10, after shots are fired, immediately allow trained medical responders to provide aid without delay. Now, I've seen that vehicle so many times crashing into those two cars on the corner, and I heard a guy say that he's a physician assistant or a doctor. He says he's a physician assistant, and he wanted to go over and give some first aid. So once a car crashes and you're there, right? Right, you need to take and have somebody come over immediately and give first aid. But the ICE agents told the physician assistant to get away because they're going to have their own people come down and render medical help. So, what kind of business is that? So, you mean to tell me that these ICE agents came down that street and had already anticipated that they're going to be using an EMT. What situation has their own EMTs? EMTs work in conjunction with hospitals, right? I don't see EMTs embedded into police forces and all this kind of stuff. They work in conjunction. They're a separate entity, but they work in conjunction with the fire department. They work together with the hospital, local hospitals and stuff. And so the first thing that should have happened is they should have let the guy render medical aid. So I've been a medical officer for 30 years in the United States Army. And so if I come on a situation and an EMT is not needed, then there's nobody injured, right? That's just the way it is. You come on a situation and they say you don't need to be here, well, then that means that there is no injury, right? Because the EMT needs to be there to determine if there is any medical situation. You cannot be an ICE agent standing there with your weapon telling medical people to get back and wait for their own EMT to come. There's something called the golden minute, right? Medical people know what this is. You got a minute, right, to determine if somebody is okay or to save a life. It's called the golden minute. So if if you see somebody in a crash or an accident, you got 1 minute to get over there and assess the damage, right? 1 minute, right? And so in this situation, the medical people or the people that were standing in the crowd told them that just get back. Okay, I did not see any ICE agents go over and check on the victim, talk to the victim to find out what's going on. Usually, if something like that happens, there's a whole crowd of people that will go over by those cars. I think one guy just kind of nonchalantly walked down. I believe that's the guy who shot her. The guy who shot her just slowly walked down and kind of looked in the car and just said like this, and nobody was around that car. I don't know how long it was. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30. I don't know. I didn't see no ambulance. I didn't see no pictures of ambulance. I didn't see nobody taking the body out and putting it on a stretcher and the ambulance going away. I didn't see no talking about what physicians coming out of a hospital talking about what the victim was DOA, dead on arrival, blah blah. I didn't hear none of that. All I saw was a car was sitting over there, and that was the end of that. Okay, I hear nothing about no funerals and all this kind of stuff. Did some research, and they said I have a GoFund there, and they raised up like $1.5 million. You don't need no $1.5 million to bury somebody, right? And then I saw that the funeral uh, is going to be sometime way with August 24th or something. What is this, January? And they're going to have a funeral 8 months from now? No. So I didn't want to go down that trail to find out what's going on here, right? But somebody needs to go down that rabbit trail and find out what's going on. I want to know what happened to Mrs. Good, right? That's what I want to know. Where's her body? And some talk about that. All right, now let's go ahead on the third body. So these points draw on community policing, use of force, guidelines to prioritize preserving life while maintaining. All right, what onlookers or bystanders could do in the future. What is community safety? So now we talked about Nicole Good, and we also talked about the ICE agent. But what about the people standing around? Onlookers often witness critical moments. Constructive steps include recording video from a safe distance to provide clear evidence. Many recordings in this case challenge conflicting narratives. Calling 911 immediately if a person appears in danger. Not physically intervening, which can increase risk, but encouraging calm and compliance, verbally if safe. Offering witness statements and video to investigators to ensure transparent review. Supporting community law enforcement dialogue to improve training and trust before crisis occurs. All right. So the way this situation unfolded has sparked national protests and debate over federal enforcement tactics, the use of force, and federal-local relations. Local leaders, including Minneapolis officials, have disputed federal accounts of the encounter and called for accountability and investigation. Framing this tragedy on my show with Kevin Samuels, who only showed up for a few minutes, and we're going to talk about him as soon as I end this show, can be an opportunity to explore de-escalation techniques, communications, best practice, and community engagement with law enforcement so that civilians and officers alike can avoid fatal misunderstandings. This isn't about shaming individuals, but about learning structural and behavioral lessons that keep people safe. And see, there I am, a law enforcement officer, talking to a civilian with a big smile on my face. You see that? I'm not shooting nobody. Everything is great. You see, she's got both hands on the wheels right there, and everything is cool, right? And that's the way it should have been on January 7th. Now, I'm going to go over here and find out what happened, what has happened to Kevin Samuels, right? Because I told him to take and not go away, right? And guess what he did? He took and left this show. So let me take and exit this here. Let's go talk to Kevin Samuels here for a second. Let's go over here and see if he's saying anything. Kevin, are you here? Kevin, are you here? Let's see if he shows up. I don't hear him saying anything. He is definitely not talking on on today's show. But I did bring him on. He says, "Oh, I'm not going to drop out." And that's exactly what Kevin did. Kevin, he dropped out of the show. Isn't that something? All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. I do have a bunch of surveys at the end here of the show, and so I hope that you can take and show up and join with the surveys and get them done. I really appreciate all the people that came out today, and hopefully this hindsight conversation that we had on this tragic event that happened in Minneapolis will never happen again. All right, we'll see you. Have a good time and fill out my surveys and subscribe. Thank you. Have a nice day and what's up?